Hey guys, I'm Jax, a non-comic book boy, and this is my non-book boy review of Season 2, Episode 1 of Invincible. I loved Season 1 of Invincible. I thought it was such an amazing, spectacular show, and I was super keen for Season 2. I can't believe it's been 2 years since the first season of Invincible. I don't think this first episode had the same emotional impact and just devastating shock and horror and like wondrous, horrific awe that the first and the last episode of last season kind of gave us. But for a first episode and kind of a bit of an aftermath of the absolute shocking brutality and insanity that was the finale of season 1, I think this did a really good job. One of the things I really love about this universe and this world is just all the side characters and all the crazy, insane, interesting, different, unique superheroes and supervillains and all that kind of stuff. But I think my favorites from season 1, especially on my rewatch this last week, were the Mauler clones. I just love them. I love the idea that they never know which one is the original and which one is the clone. It's just such an interesting, unique little kind of character kind of situation. I just love them. So to have them be main players in this first episode, I thought was really fun and just a really great kind of reintroduction into the world of... I think maybe my favorite part of this first episode was the way they teased their silly little gimmicky way of introducing the title card of Invincible by just having characters go to say Invincible and just have a pause and then actually just say Invincible. And then finally at the end of the episode, we get the title card and the blood covers all of it and then it kind of has a crack. So I guess this season we'll get more cracks over it throughout the progression of the season. And that's just really fun. I was kind of curious, were they just going to start with a clean slate again and just throw blood all over it again? But I really like the idea that the blood covered the whole screen and then a crack appeared and it was a bit of a different color and all that stuff. Just really fun and inventive and quite unique. So just loved all of that. Okay, so this season introduces us to one concept which I can't help but feel is either perfectly timed in just the landscape of pop culture right now or dangerously, terribly late. And that, of course, is the multiverse situation thing going on. Or in this case, they call it dimensions, but it's same but different. The whole superhero genre for the last couple of years since Endgame seems to be so hellbent on just doing multiverses. We've always had multiverses in like Rick and Morty and stuff, but the DC universe, the Marvel universe, they're all just doing multiverses. It's multiverses everywhere. Every superhero show and their mum is doing a multiverse. And so the fact that Invincible has taken 2 years to bring out its season 2 and the main big new thing is multiverses is very interesting and intriguing, and it almost feels a little stale at this point. I can't help but feel that I'm probably not the only one who's like a little trepidatious with the idea of introducing lots of dimensions, lots of characters that are the same character but it's a different dimension. And the only reason that I'm not kind of more nervous and a bit more skeptical is that I just have heard from every single person who's read the comic books that Invincible is spectacular, that the entire comic run is amazing, and that it is good from the beginning all the way to the end. And so I am just going to like hold off judgment and kind of be excited for how they're going to do their multiverses or their dimensions or whatever. And this first little taste we got, whilst it felt very like, you know, like the new guy, Angstrom Levy, I think his name was, played by Sterling K. Brown, this show does not miss with its amazing casting of just every single character in it. It's so much fun how good the voice cast is. It's just overwhelmingly cool. But there is that moment where he like opens the door and he's like, look, it's my Citadel of Ricks / my Kang Dynasty. Look at them all. And I'm like, that's a bit old hat at this point, somehow. And I wonder if it had come out like more timely, like maybe just even a year or so ago, it would be fresher and more exciting. But then I think about the fact that when it first came out, like season 1, it was like, oh cool, they're doing a Justice League. Oh my god, the Justice League got killed. What if Superman was your dad, but also the worst? And it's always felt similar enough to other shows, like, you know, it can kind of, you straight away kind of go, oh, it's like The Boys. Homelander is like Superman, but the worst. And this is so similar, but it's kind of amazing lore and mythology and all its interesting world building does, whilst feeling quite similar to other things, it just feels fresh and unique and interesting. Like, I think the Mauler clones are a great example. It's like, I've seen clones before, but the way they're done and the way they interact and their characterization is really, really well done. And so, yeah, it's a little weird to kind of be like, okay, they're doing multiverses. Okay, it would have been nice to have one superhero thing to not do multiverses. I wonder, though, if Invincible is going to be that fresh breath of air we need into the multiverse part of the superhero genre. So yeah, I don't know. That's just like a big main thing they kind of tackled. And I am just, yeah, umming and ahhing about how I really feel about it. I am hoping it's going to be spectacular, but it just felt a little weird. So the first scene for this season is set in another dimension, and Omni-Man and Invincible have teamed up, and we find out from Angstrom Levy that apparently most of the dimensions, Invincible and Omni-Man team up. So I think the way they're kind of going to structure this kind of dimension thing is that our dimension, the main big unique thing that sets it apart from most of the others, is that Invincible is like the good guy in this one. And that's quite interesting. It feels like a little kind of obvious, like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It was simultaneously like really fun, but also really horrific to see Invincible just like be a flat out villain with his dad. And you can tell that you're definitely in the darkest timeline when Adam Eve's beautiful long hair has just been shaved off and she's got an army haircut. Just what a travesty. It was really, really jarring to see Invincible be so kind of nonchalant with his murder and his mayhem with Omni-Man, because as soon as Omni-Man's like, join me and be the worst guy ever, let's take over the galaxy, Viltrumite and stuff, it never really felt like Invincible was ever going to join him. So I wonder if we're ever going to get kind of explanations or hints or scenes in all these other dimensions to explain why mostly in every dimension Invincible sides with his dad, because it seems like that's like the usual thing to happen in most dimensions. Well, that's what's kind of implied, is that Invincible is with Omni-Man and they team up. And I understand it's probably just like a difference, but it feels like that would fundamentally be something that would have to be kind of ingrained in him over time, over his growing up. So I wonder if they're going to kind of explain or show what the differences are there. Because it was so weird seeing Invincible just so brutal and so evil and so kind of calm about it. The way Omni-Man would be very calm about just crushing someone's skull and blood exploding everywhere. And so, I'd be really interested to see how Omni-Man convinced his son. Like, did he just say the same thing, but mostly Invincible is usually always kind of not like on the side of humanity? Because that feels really against like his entire character and like the core thing of season 1. So I'd really like to see kind of them delve into that with the other dimensions. But also I wouldn't be surprised if we don't really see that and it's just kind of a blanket like, no, all the other dimensions, he's evil and he sucks. But we're going to focus on the good Invincible. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get much, but I would love to see more and not just see the aftermath of bad Invincible, but to see what made Invincible a bad guy. Because he's like so bad. Like, not just like bad and then there's a moment where he's like, I kind of regret this, but it's what I've got to do. He like paralyzes Adam Eve. And like, he's like, oh, I didn't kill her. I've been practicing on all these people. And he paralyzes her so that he can like go visit her like paralyzed, like comatose body. Like really messed up evil stuff. And it doesn't feel like that's years later. It feels like this is kind of early on Invincible, but he's just completely off the deep end. It's crazy. It was really shocking and interesting. I think my favorite aspect of this first episode was that Invincible wants to get back out into the game and he wants to help and be a superhero and he wants to hang out with Walton Goggins and Cecil, whatever his name is, and do good, and he wants to save lives. And his first mission back, straight off the bat, he stops someone from being this like amazing god healer, just guy who's going to do good for not just one dimension, but all the dimensions. Someone who's going to heal everything. And he stops him and creates a supervillain in the process. And that's just a lot of fun. That feels very reminiscent of the things that worked in season 1 of Invincible, where it sets up something and you expect it to go a certain way, and then it's just horrendously violent and brutal, and it ends just very sadly. Just very, very sadly. I greatly appreciated that, and I really, really liked the after credits moment that revealed that one of them has survived, and his brain is all big and mushy. He's got like this big hair, tentacle, brain situation going on, and he's just crazy and mad, and a classic supervillain situation. Because when he exploded and Invincible actually stopped him, I was really disappointed. I was like, oh, I love the idea that this guy can jump between dimensions and he's grabbed all of them together. He's got a big Citadel of Rick situation, and he's going to put all of their minds into his mind, and he's setting up to be a hero, but of course something's going to go wrong and he's going to become a villain. So the idea that they would kill him was really disappointing. So the fact he's alive to do some more crazy shenanigans later on is very, very exciting. And I just can't wait to see him jump through more dimensions and do more crazy dimension stuff, despite my trepidations on the fact that they are just jumping headlong into multiverses again, which seems to be the only thing that superheroes are doing right now. But as I said, I think Invincible will do it good. Hopefully. Whilst it was very, very brief, it was really fun to see Robot actually as human little Rex boy clone character in the fight. And he's all like, my heart was beating and I was freaking out. And she's like, yeah, you're a person now actually fighting. Lots of fun. Really interesting to see how his progression is going to go. Probably one of the standouts of season 1. Another thing I thought was really, really interesting is bringing back Olga and just having her and Debbie just kind of have a big cry about the horrors that were season 1 of Invincible. It really did feel like a bit of an aftermath episode, a bit of a deep breath of everyone just going, oh geez, season 1 was horrendous. Everything is awful, and everyone just had a big cry and a big sook about it. I thought that was a pretty interesting scene, and I really liked the idea that at first you're like, oh my god, she's here for revenge, and then she's like, no, she's just here for a big cry. Overall, it was a really fun episode, and I cannot wait for more.